4 years later, here come the feds. You know what I'm saying? So that's how it works. You know, sometimes the people, when you quit, the people that still continue, you know what I'm saying? They still have your name circulating and things. And, you know, and that's how, unfortunately, that I ended up in there. But the thing was, where they put me at in the case was, you know, on a hierarchy. like my damage was done when they came and got me and quit. You feel me? They never say they had the right man. I mean, I give it to them. They had the right man. But well, what went wrong is they just had the wrong time. I had enough time to be out of this game to let the judge see that I had no more parts of this street stuff at all. That, you know, and shout out to the judge that, you know, seeing through that. They you know, it clearly showed that I had no more parts, no parts of the game, no parts of the street, and they didn't lock me up.
Yeah, so young people watching this, they don't have to catch you with the stuff. Statute of limitations, if there's someone from your past who says you've done a deal with them, they've got you. In my ecstasy importation case, I'd quit, and then a year later they got me after I'd quit. And they had people, yeah.
I mean, they operate on a different scope, you know what I mean? And this is what I try to tell these kids today. And it's like now with all this questioning about Jay, throughout this story that we've been talking about right now, Jay been with me the whole time. But yet he's not on my case. You feel me? But and the feds don't operate like that. You get what I'm saying? So things you start to question things this way, like, wait a minute, how does this work? You know what I'm saying? If you tell me you had me under investigation for 10 years and me and this guy have been together for 90% of that, you know, and he's not in nothing, you know what I'm saying? Not saying that this way you want him, but, you know, some things just don't add up when you start to look back at things, you feel me? So
could you go into detail of the story of you getting shot that involved Jay-Z?
One day, random, you know, out of random, I usually never have him with me when I'm going to do a deal. And it just so happened, like, you know, randomly, I'm like, yo, we got a certain amount of cash on us. We shouldn't be going back out of town without nothing. That we should might as well grab something before we go out of town. And it just so happens, like, and this is why this game is not to be trusted. It doesn't matter how much money I had bought that connect, how long I've been dealing with that connect, but they set me up. So, you know, I go up, we ride up to Harlem, and then it was really out of the blue because Jay had on lots of jewelry that day. And you know, and we just don't do stuff like that. And it's went to see the connects, and I sat in their house for a second and stuff, and got what I needed to get. And next you know, when it was time to leave, that gut feeling I talk about, when it was time to leave, the door closed instantly behind me, like too fast, like, you know what I'm saying? And when it did that, I just had a gut feeling that. And I looked outside and I seen two guys outside, like, waiting on us. And I'm saying to myself, okay, I got 400, I remember this, I got 490 grams of coke in my pants. And this guy got on a bunch of jewelry, and we got to get past these two guys that's outside waiting. You know, I already was on point. I told Jay to be on point, and when we got outside, you know, the guys was like, okay, you already know what it is. But they had it all planned in a way where I can push Jay away. And when I pushed Jay away and pushed him out the way for him to run, the guy didn't just like shoot me like that. You know, he literally grabbed me, put it in my back, and shot me. You understand? And put it in my back and shot me. So now we tussling. I turn around, we tussling for the gun now. We tussling for it. And I'm fighting, and he's calling the other guy. He's calling his guy, yo, come back. And just so happened, man, I'm like, yo, I'm going to take my hand off his gun and just try to run. And when I took my hand off the gun, I ran. By the time I got 2 blocks down there where Jay was, I was so out of breath. And Jay was like, you all right? I heard the gun go off. You all right? And I'm like, yeah, I'm okay. Everything is good, but my back hurt. You know what I'm saying? I feel it
Wow.
in my back, like, and I kept reaching around in my back, and next I put my hand right in the hole, and I'm like, Jay shot, bro. He like, get out of here. So we up 2 blocks, and then once I realized that, I started collapsing, and I'm laying on the floor, and I can remember looking upstairs, and the girls are like, "You okay, baby? You all right?" And I'm like, "Nah, I'm shot." You know what I'm saying? So they like, "Yo, I'm gonna call an ambulance for you." I'm like, "Who?" And I'm like, "Okay, I'm gonna go in the store and wait." I went in the store. And once they found out I got shot, they like, "Poppy, no, you gotta get out of here. You gotta get out of here." They threw me out the store. So I'm waiting on the ambulance outside and shit, and I'm looking at Jay and all this jewelry and people walking by. I'm like, "Yo, you know what, man? Let's get in this cab, man." I jumped in the cab and told him run me to the hospital. And then when we got to the hospital, before we got out, I told him just call my mom and tell him where I'm at. And I tell you what, like he said in Scarface, we got the yayo though.
Wow.
They didn't get that though, man.
Wow. I'm gripped like crazy right now, and there's loads of questions coming in. But is there drums going behind you somewhere or some music?
Yeah, hold on a minute. Yeah, they can hear that. So we could do something about it. Yeah. Please. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
All right. Yeah, they can hear it.
Thank you. If you got questions for DeHaven, put them in the chat. Also, DeHaven's Instagram, I'm putting it in the live chat right now. Support his work. And if you put any questions for him, we're going to finish the story and we'll get to the questions at the end. So, man, what did you think of the way Jay behaved in that situation?
It was nothing he could do, man. He was, I was more, good with him being okay, man. I was all right, what I mean, with him. And the funny thing is, the whole time I laid up in the hospital, like I said, when it's time for him to step up, he steps up. The whole time when I was in the hospital, man, and I came home, the operation was up, all the way up.
Yeah.
Yeah, it turned out to be, he showed out, but that's some of the stuff that happens in this game. You can't even trust to connect sometimes.
But stuff like that bonds you for life, man. I mean, you laid your life on the line for him there.
Yeah. I mean, that's what big brothers do, though, right? I don't see no other way around it. You get what I'm saying? And that was something I always wanted, you know what I'm saying? Was a little brother. Me and him both have older brothers, but you know what I'm saying? Because we were so tight, we don't even have relationships with our brothers, our real physical brothers to this day. You know what I'm saying? Because we had spent so much time together around each other.
So how long after that did things turn sour with him?
Things started to turn sour when I started going to jail. I had to go to jail a few times. And this one particular time, I was locked up for a parole violation. And this is odd because, I've been locked up before where Jay used to come and see me, periodically and make sure I was all the way good. So this one time, fast forward a few years later, I'm doing this parole violation, and at the same time I'm doing this parole violation, I got a $50,000 a week pipeline that's still open. You know what I'm saying? So while I'm laying up and waiting for him to come and see me so we can have conversations, even if if I needed him to do anything. You know what I'm saying? So a few weeks started to go by, and and then come to find out I never get to see him. I do a few months, I ride out my parole, and then when I come home, and I'm talking to another friend of mine, and he tells me that him and Jay is in conflict now. Right? This is my right-hand man, and this is my little brother right here, right? So I'm like, how does that work? I'm like, it's in conflict. He said, so what's the conflict? Conflict is he see Jay with the connect. You know what I'm saying? See Jay with my connection. And right then and there, he establishes that this is not right. Like, why would you be talking to his connect if you ain't talk to him? You know what I mean? So my right-hand man really, he's really street with it. He's really played by the rules. He played by the rules, old school rules. Like, if you steal from me, who knows what you do? You know what I'm saying? So they came into a conflict where, you know, it was some gunshots involved. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, oh, wait a minute, huh? He says, yo, you know, this is what I had to do. But, you know, trust and believe if he's doing this behind your back, you know what I'm saying? Who knows what he'd do? And I'm like, you know, this is like one of the toughest places a person could be, in the middle of their friends. You know what I mean? So I'm telling my friend, like, listen, you know, let's chill. Let me talk to him. Let me see what's going on, this and that. And my friend is like, yo, this is not how it go. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? But on a behalf, that's how we use that term. On behalf of me, my friend gave me that courtesy to let that thing go, to let it go. Because once gunfire is involved, it's somebody not supposed to be around after this. But so when I go to talk to Jay don't want to talk. That's what it seemed like. He don't want to talk. That was the number one thing that went left. Like, he never had a conversation about why that happened or whatever that happened, but he spoke about it on music. He spoke about it on music, about, you know, how he felt about it, but that was all wrong, you know? And he said something to the fact that, like, I had someone try to kill him. Like, what? If I sit here and give you the history of what I've done from him all this time, like, why would I, you know, it doesn't make sense. You know what I'm saying? And I just felt like he just wanted to use that as an excuse to this day. You know what I'm saying? Because just putting that out there that I would even think about having that done, it's just doesn't make sense. But the fact of the matter, you call me a snitch, you tell me I'm caving on record, and you put my life on like, you know, you put my life on the line. Like, we've been going back and forth for 20 years. And I'm sure we're going to get into detail after detail. Like, a lot of people don't know that we've been doing this for 20-something years on music. I've been doing it online, and he been answering everything on music. It's just people just not listening to it. Like, yo, he's really telling the story. You know, so things went sour from there, and it never got back right. But you know what I mean? That don't negate the fact of everything I've done for him. You get what I'm saying? For instance, like, what would my mom have to do with it? If you saw Marcy Maid, you would understand how I feel, a lot more how I feel. Because you got to understand that he left home as a teenager and left and lived with my family. When we moved to Trenton, that was my family. We moved to Maryland, that's my family. Like, I carried him around with me everywhere I went. So for that situation, for that one situation that he never got to the bottom of, he never asked about, he cut my whole family off. Everybody that was that's involved with him. You know what I'm saying? And to a point where most of the people that died, he never showed up at their funeral. We stayed at my aunt's house in Trenton. My aunt took him in and treated him just like she treated me. They passed away, no show, this, that. I mean, these are, you'll run yourself raggedy trying to think about why people make these kind of choices. And you'll start asking, what did I do? Like, what did I do to deserve this from you? You know, so that's just been our history.
DeHaven, I know exactly how you feel. I mentioned Wildman earlier, who was my big brother. I had a little brother called Skinner when we were doing our thing, and they fell out. and Wildman was going to do something to Little Brother, and Little Brother got so scared he went to the feds, and that's what brought the whole thing down, because they had the inside scoop on the organization. Well, and if viewers, if you want to get that, story's coming out, my documentary on January the 9th, HBO Max, with Sammy DeBull. Skinner's actually going to be in it. But the question for you from Ivy: do you feel Jay-Z would have kept you by his side if you hadn't gone to jail? She feels he was waiting for an opportunity to end the friendship. Your thoughts?
If he would have took me with him, if that would have never happened. You know what? I don't think so. For the simple fact that if he was always jealous of my position and who I was, you know what I'm saying? And I'm just throwing that out there. He would have never needed me by his side. You feel what I'm saying? Like, people would identify through his music who's what and who's who. So being that, you know, the way his choices and the way he moved looking forward, that, yeah, he would have never took me. He would have never took nobody that's going to question him or when he out of line. You know what I'm saying? He would have never took me. There's a lot of stuff that I would have never agreed to and agreed with within that industry. It's all the reason why that, you know, he hadn't took me. That's why I'm just not so angry anymore like I used to be. You know what I'm saying? Because I see a different perspective on things now. Why I'm not involved in that. You know what I'm saying? You know, in one story I said, you know, Jay may have saved my life. You know what I'm saying? Because if I go back in time and say, well, maybe he would have looked out for me. Let's just say if he'd have looked out for me and would have brought me in. I wasn't really mentally ready. I still was on the street. I probably have been trying to track down El Chapo. I'd have been looking for the connect, for real. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't ready to settle in, you know what I'm saying? So I probably wouldn't have made it anyway. You know what I'm saying? So it's so many different perspectives and stuff that I look at so I won't be so angry. Because you can be angry at someone and that angry will turn into something else. It'll turn into hate, envy. And once you start stirring up those ingredients in the pot, it just comes out. You don't get no blessings. You can't focus. You can't see right. You know what I'm saying? So it took me years to come up and get to this way. It took me years to look at it from a different perspective. But